Welcome to The Other Side of the Bridge with Iron City Paranormal, where they discuss real investigations, first-hand experiences, unexplained moments, and everything that happens when you step off the regular path and onto the other side of the bridge. Just honest paranormal talk, Iron City Paranormal style. And now, here are your hosts, Derek Smith and Dan Metelsky.
There are moments when curiosity urges us to take a leap of faith, even when we have no idea what's waiting ahead. A bridge is the physical embodiment of our curiosity taking over, allowing for our passion for the unknown to drive us forward. A bridge is where we leave solid ground behind, and for a moment we're suspended between what we understand and what we don't. The transition between where we feel safe and where we lose control of our own destiny. Tonight, we're crossing that bridge together. Welcome to the other side of the bridge. We're not here to tell you what to believe. We're here to walk with you across the bridge and into the unknown.
Hey,
Ians, guys. Welcome back. The other side of the bridge, episode 11. We are going to have a conversation tonight about something that we should have started with on episode 1, which is talking about different types of hauntings. We've gone through a couple investigations already, and we've been making reference to like residual hauntings and poltergeist activity and intelligent hauntings. And now it's kind of time to define what those are. And bring everybody into the same headspace so that we can all, as we continue on investigations, we can all be speaking the same language. Guys, I'm excited about this one. Your intro videos get me so pumped every time, Derek. I love it. I love the video that you put on there. I love the photos.
It's a nice little teaser of what we're going to talk about every time, and there's so many of these things that they're some of our favorites, some of the evidence there. And I get goosebumps sometimes watching some of these, and you're talking about all the different types of hauntings and everything. It's like when we go into an investigation, we're not thinking, okay, I'm going to go look for this or I'm going to look for that. Most of the time it's just whatever comes at us, but it's almost always intelligent, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's more often than not, we're talking about communicating. We're talking about, asking them questions, finding out more, using this technique, that technique. Almost every time it's all because it's intelligent. So
yeah, and that's obviously what we prefer, right? I mean, if we're going to go,
gives us the most information, absolutely.
Yeah, if it's just something walking by every once in a while or making a noise every once in a while that really isn't communicating back with us, it's just kind of doing its thing. It's a little boring for us. I mean, it's still cool, but it's like it doesn't hit the same.
It's almost after the fact, after we're done, reviewing everything, and then we can kind of say, okay, look, we didn't get this kind of communication we were hoping for, but this also happened. So now we're going to consider it residual, or now we're going to consider it a poltergeist. But that's when we put the pieces together. That's after the fact, not in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And part of that equation, so I saw... I've never played this game, but I want to play the game, and I live vicariously through YouTubers that play video games because I just don't have time or energy to do that myself. But Phasmophobia, I wish
heard of it. I've never played it. I mean,
oh man, it looks like it's so much fun, and it looks like everything we hate about ghost hunting shows because it's so cliche. Well, yeah, over the top, but like cliche, right? It gives the wrong impression about investigations, just like other shows do on paranormal investigations, where it's just so not real life, right? The over the top reactions that many shows have, the screaming, the yelling, the running around, panicking with like the video following them.
It's like the drama that they add into everything. And that's the kind of thing that bothers me the most, I think, about all this stuff. But it's the exact opposite of what we do.
Well, yeah. And I think the exact opposite of what any kind of paranormal investigation truly is, right? If you're doing it for the meaning behind it and not just the clicks, then I think that that's the way that we do it is the normal way to do it, let's say. But like phasmophobia is like, again, I wish it was as simple as the game makes it out to be, because like from what I gather from it, like you go in, and if you see your cold breath or something, then you check it off a list. Or if there's like with a K2 meter that goes up to yellow, you check it on the list. And like you have to find things that happen, and then you check it, and then you go back to your little van and you say, okay, I got this thing to happen. I got this thing to happen. Well, then that is this type of spirit. Right. I wish it was so cut and dry where it was
Right.
like, if this 1, 2, and 3 happens, then we know what we're dealing with. But we really can't do that.
Well, I wish it was that easy. You're absolutely right. But I mean, to an extent, yeah, we do that where we take, you know, this list of things, and we say, okay, we can apply it now to a poltergeist. You know, it's a noisy spirit, it's moving things, throwing things, whatever. Or, you know, these aspects are a residual. So I mean, to an extent there is, but there's so much gray area in there too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's so much more of the back and forth, and who's to know if any of that's even the truth? Like, I mean, could something be an intelligence be hiding itself to be something else, to be a poltergeist or something residual? You know, when we say intelligent, how intelligent are we speaking?
Right.
Yeah.
Are we talking to the ghost of Einstein? Maybe. Maybe. So before we do all of that and like types of hauntings, we have to figure out if it's haunted in the first place, right?
Right.
And before Aaron joined us and we really started honing our craft, you know, like we kind of had to guess.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
And we tried to see if some things would happen, but like ever since Aaron's joined us, it's a little bit faster for us to get to the point where we understand if it's haunted or not, just because of the skills that she
I think
brings.
you tapping into that too has helped tremendously, because we're not just solely like working off of the devices and the tools and everything. So you using your senses, her bringing that out of you has helped us too. It kind of like fast forwards to a certain point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100% agree.
So
But what is a haunting, right?
Yeah, like what does it take? What does it take to say that a place is haunted, right? And that's when we do cleansings and things, that's very important. Like it's one thing for us to just go do it for entertainment, for our own entertainment, and like try to get evidence and things like we pay to go places. But it's very important when it comes to like people that reach out to us and want to know if their homes are haunted.
Yep.
It's like, what classifies as a haunting? And I think there's so many different different aspects of it that you can look at, that you kind of have to piece together the puzzle to really tell an owner of a home if there's something there or not.
It's so much easier when a place is classically or noted to be haunted, because we then reach out to them and say, okay, your place is haunted. I want to come because I've seen all this other stuff. I've seen this group get this, or you were on TV for that. So there's a certain aspect of it that is built up over time, that there are stories that go in with all of these things. But yeah, I mean, where do you even start? Right? I mean, I know from my point of view, I start with the history. I look at if there's any tragedies, if there's anything that could lead to the haunting itself. But that's tip of the iceberg.
Right. Right. And then we have to kind of gauge our expectation and adjust our expectations going in, right? Because it's easy to get caught up in the hype.
Absolutely.
Right? It's so easy. And when Aaron, the best thing for me is like when Aaron first goes into a location, as you and I are like working on setting up equipment, and I'm like kind of getting a feel for the space, but like I don't quite have the abilities as honed in as Aaron does. Like I love to just watch her walk around and kind of follow along with her and like really see if this vibes that you're getting, Aaron, line up with mine.
Yeah. Right. What I think is so interesting is when we've gone into locations that it might be the first time I've been there, but you guys have been there before, and seeing where those feelings that you had picked up before align. But I think also, Derek, it's important to point out, like, I know whenever you say you start with looking at the history and looking at like what could have caused those, we're solely focused on whenever something is attached to a place. And there are so many times also that we're looking at okay, is this attached to a person or attached to an object as well that's outside of the history of the place that it's in? That we've found in our past, we've seen that before.
Sure.
That's why I like doing the antique shop in Wexford that we've done a couple times,
Yeah.
right? Because like that's what's fun is like the building itself is historical. So then it could it be the building, could it be the land, but also it could be the awesome things that like people have brought in to try to sell, like the people that are curating these collections and like this old stuff around you, and it's just so much. Like so we have to like we've had things tell us about objects in the room, like at the antique shop, and they've told us like this is what brought me here. Like that's so cool. And like when we did the Mars train station, we're going to get into all of these eventually, right? But like the train station, when the dude was telling us that he was like, I'm the body that used to be in that box, like that, like that was freaking neat, right? And those are things, and I'm getting ahead of ourselves, but that's like it's investigative work. That's very much why we call it paranormal investigations and not just paranormal funhouse, which also sounds fun.
I think there's something to be said too for like how we frame our investigations to figure out what kind of activity is going on when we're going into some of these more well-known places versus a residence. There's so much more emotion that's attached to these residences, just in terms of the people that are reaching out to us. 9 times out of 10, if they have gotten to the point where they think that there's something in their home, there's so often that they think that it is someone who's attached to them. So it's not even just looking at these residences and saying like, oh, my house is haunted. No, that conversation is, I think my dad is still here, or I think my grandmother is still here or has come back. And like, we have had instances where people have thought that, and through our investigation have realized that that is probably not the case, that it is someone or something that is not physically attached to the person, but is attached to the house, and having to have those conversations as well.
It's interesting that you bring that up too, because a lot of the time they start to push a certain emotion. Like these things will bring out fear, and then it'll start feeding off of them. So they're putting their fear into these things too, where it's not just what's there, it's now their emotion that's adding to it. So that's always interested, where you take all these things, you sandwich them together, and then where do you go? What is it? But so how do you answer that? I would think you break it down. I mean, we're throwing out all these different types. We're throwing out the intelligent, we're throwing out residual, we're throwing out the poltergeist every once in a while, which I think we've really only encountered once in our 10 years of doing this. But so start with residual. What is a residual haunting? So I think there's so many different theories and things that go back in time that talk about it too.
Yeah, there's a lot of theories. There's who knows, right? It's that the way we've always told people about it has always been that record playing, right? Like it's that somebody, like a CD that somebody presses play on when every once in a while when you walk through a room, right? And like just it's the same thing that happens like the same time every night. The spirit walks through a room, doesn't look at you, doesn't interact with you. It just walks from left to right, walks down the steps and away. Right. And then the next night you go and it's the same time that same spirit walks down the steps and goes away. Like those are that replaying of history. Right. Now, what that is, it could be footsteps, it could be actual apparitions, it could be voices, it could be music playing, it could be the smell of people that are, you have been around you.
I was going to bring that one up too, because we've had people doing the cigars. The cigars we just told Crush Bar the other day, 3 weeks ago now. They asked what smells we've had, and I think cigar comes up time and time again. I don't know why. Why is it cigar that does? Maybe it's a time period kind of thing, but that is one of the scents. And just like you said, it's something that it's same place, same time. It's just instead of hearing it or seeing something, you're smelling it.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's all of those things we just talked about on the last episode, Twin City Opera House, right? I mean, those places with so many people that have gone in and out, so many people that have just dumped their heart and soul into their art, right? To their
Craft, yeah.
music, to
Mhm.
their acting, whatever it is. All of that just comes with such an intense emotion, and that emotion theoretically can imprint onto a
Sure,
location, right?
sure.
And
Yeah, and
that's
that's a
what a
good.
residual but that's what a residual haunting would be, right? It's not something that you can talk to. It's not something that
Yeah,
knows you're there. It's not something that interacts with devices. It just kind of,
it's just there.
yeah,
Mhm.
just kind
Yeah,
of
and
just,
I think that's important to note because when we go into these places, we're trying to talk to somebody, so it does get frustrating for us when nobody talks back.
Mhm.
Um, we've had it happen a lot where places people will communicate with us, and that's, I think we just kind of alluded to it, that's like the most fun because we get the most out of it,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
that's where we're able to get the most information. But the residuals, I think it's very important to distinguish that they're not going to talk to you. They're
No.
not going to know that you're there. They're just doing whatever their
Mhm.
action was over and over again.
Really on our end, we're just documenting them, right?
Right.
Like we
That's it.
are we are finding them, we are reaffirming for someone who has experienced that before that, hey, this is something that we also experienced and documented. But realistically, in order for us to gain evidence and to be able to put together a decent investigation, we're always going to be focusing on those on the more wow, I just lost all my words. They just went right out
The
of my brain.
intelligent,
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you. Yeah, those interactions versus the residual. We're really just
So I do
saying
have
hello as we walk past the residual ones there,
we do
right.
have a
and
clip here to
continuing on.
show of one of the instances that I think that we got a residual,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and that was at North Country Brewing. Now, it was through a trail cam. No one was in that was there at the time. The employees that were there were downstairs. You and I were in a different area, Dan,
Mhm.
and this door was captured on trail cam. You zoom into it, you can see it a little bit better. It is hard to see sometimes, but I know that you caught this one. You were super stoked about this. I know how excited you were with this one.
Yeah, I
But
put it up. I
rightfully
put it
so.
up on. Yeah, it was on our YouTube page, and you were going through evidence, and you're like, "Hey, I threw these up on YouTube. Take a look at them." And I went on YouTube on our TV in our living room, and I saw this one, and I freaked out, and I took my phone and recorded the screen. So I just recorded the recording, right, and then I sent it to you, and I was like, "This is freaking awesome."
Well, and for a little bit more information in this area here, right on the other side of that door, there's a step. That
Mm.
was the addition that they made. You actually have to physically step up to get to that other area. And if you watch this on replay, like, we have a ton of times, you can clearly see that it doesn't do that. It goes directly in. So whoever this was, just walking through here, that step isn't there to them. And I think that's another important feature to
Mhm.
these residuals.
Yeah, it just shows that historically, if that was different, they don't see any change.
Right.
Right? They live in a different, well, and it's not even, I don't want to say they live in a different plane, because I don't think that's what a residual is. It's not that they're still, living and doing their thing on another
They know it.
dimension or anything
They
else.
know it how it was. So I mean,
Exactly.
they
Oh
are
yeah.
living in a certain sense of history.
Yeah. But so then that's going to contrast very severely with intelligent hauntings, right? And Aaron,
Yeah.
you said it exactly. What my thought is if we're going to go into something, especially when we try to, if we find that like somebody wants us to come in and put a story together, you can't put stories together from residuals, right? We have to have intelligent hauntings. Intelligent hauntings are drastically different. They're the ones that are knowing that we're there. They are interacting with us. They're interacting with our equipment. They're answering questions. They're kind of,
giving us the story. They're telling a
yeah,
story.
yeah. It's like having a living person there that you can't see, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
turn flashlights on. We talked about that the last episode, that, you know, using their bodies, so to speak, or their energy body to bridge the gap between the flashlight battery and the contact on the light, you know, to light up the light and all those kind of things. I mean, those are the ones that are a lot of fun, right? Those residual ones bore the heck out of me.
Yeah, I mean, and if you think about it, pretty much everything that we've talked about to this point, everything that we've experienced and shared is intelligent. And when you talk these residuals, even when you talk poltergeist, you're not getting a story out of it. You're not gaining any more information from anybody to tell who was there, to tell why they're there, you know, to tell you what year it is. There's nothing with some of these things. One of our favorite clips from Gettysburg, obviously, is replaying the story of Gettysburg, the battle. So if we didn't know that, if we didn't know the place that we were at or what happened there, you wouldn't have a clue what they're doing.
Yeah.
So something like that, because we know about it, we can apply the history to it. That we can tell that it's residual, just playing over and over again.
I wonder how many places that we've gone to, and maybe more so you guys have gone to, that like you've gotten word that some place is really haunted, and then you get there and you get nothing, is because the majority of the spirits that are there are residual.
That's actually a very good point.
Intelligent. That they're not able to interact with our any of our tools, or they're not looking to. And it still could be haunted, but they're just not.
It's not the same. It's not it's not the same kind that you can claim that it is, because you don't necessarily have the same kind of proof. You know, and I think that's another thing with the evidence side of things.
Well, and to take that a step further, because it is a really good question, is we've talked about it, like investigating being very much like fishing, right? Where we're not always getting the same thing, like guaranteed to get anything. It's like, what if those places that, you know, people have had experiences saying that there's been intelligent type responses at things? What if when we go, maybe those aren't the ones we interact with? We're just interacting with the residuals, right? So these places can have both. I think a lot of them do, just because a lot of them have been in locations where there's just been so much emotional energy poured into these places over the years, and it just kind of sets it up for whatever.
Right? I would completely agree with that. That they're layered. You know, there's probably a lot of the time where we, you know, after we do all of our analysis, do all of our evidence sharing, there's probably a lot of times where we don't actually get to the residual, because our focus is the storytelling, you know, the ones that are giving us the information.
Oh, sure. That's the fun stuff. Like those are the fireworks, right? I mean, all that other stuff, when you're getting intelligent interactions, those are the show, right? And all that stuff that could be residual is kind of just noise. And, you know, whenever we do like spirit box sessions, like, and I've always told people, like, always pay attention. And I know, Derek, you do this a lot when you do evidence review, and that's why we get so much more out of the evidence review than we do in person, is it's that stuff that comes in underneath.
Yes.
Right. It's not the one that's the loudest. It's sometimes the one that's underneath the noises up front that really are the one that we get more information from quite often.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's hard to hear that in person, because if we're just running a spirit box and you have it with a big room that's echoing, how many times are we sitting there like, what was that? What did they say? I can't hear that. And even with the Estes, whenever I have the headphones on or whoever, and you're focusing in and you're listening, there's still that tone that's is under it that you can't necessarily hear in person.
Yeah, so much so. And I think that there's a lot to be said for us having to ask ourselves that question every single time, because that's what flushes all of that's really what starts an investigation and really gets us into the crux of what we get, like when we start to pull information out of some of these places, is we identify and then we attack, so to speak.
Yeah.
Right. But coming up, so getting up close to the ad break, but some of we've talked about the very well known.
How did that happen, by the way?
I know time flies when we're on these things. So we've talked about the residuals. We've talked about the intelligent ones. Those ones are the ones that are probably making up, I would say, 80% of, if not a little bit more.
I'd say more, yeah.
Things. But coming up after the ad break, we'll get into really those more niche hauntings, if you want to call it that.
Specific.
And the one that's really coming to mind is the poltergeist activity at American Renaissance Church in Winburn that we're going to talk about, which was really neat. So hang with us after the ad break, and we will get into poltergeist activity, shadow figures, and who knows what else. Stick with us.
The truth, it's out there, and it's waiting for you. The Unexplained Network is your source for the best in paranormal programming, live video streaming, and audio streaming from hauntings, UFOs, Bigfoot, cryptids, and the ever-expanding realm of the unexplained. Listen live or on demand now on Spreaker, Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeart, and Pockets all over the World Wide Web. The Unexplained Network, where unexplained lives. The new book, How to Research a Haunted House by paranormal investigator Margie Kay and professional researcher Violet Wisdom, is now available from Unex Media. This one-of-a-kind book explains how to do research on a house with uncommon methods and resources used by historic home researchers, and how to determine who may be doing the haunting and why. How to research a haunted house can be used by homeowners, renters, investors, and it should be in the library of all professional paranormal investigators. Get this unique book at unexmedia.com or amazon.com. That's unexmedia.com or amazon.com. Every ghost story and creature feature lies a far more terrifying truth. The real monsters wear human faces. In the chilling book, All Monsters Are Human, from Derek Smith, 10 Twisted Tales expose the darkest parts of the human soul. From killers hiding in plain sight to obsessions turned deadly. Each story invites you to step into a shadow world where morality unravels, and the only thing more terrifying than what lurks in the dark is who. These aren't just horror stories. They're reflections of ourselves, showing what happens when fear, rage, guilt, and desire take control. Visit unexmedia.com for more information on All Monsters Are Human from Derek Smith. And you can purchase them at amazon.com from unexmedia.com.
So when I think of hauntings, the first thing that comes to mind when I was a kid was the movie Poltergeist, and how terrified I was of that movie when I was a kid. And
rightfully so, I think.
Well, right. But the more that we have learned about poltergeist, the less frightening I think they are to me, just because they seem so aggressive, let's say. They seem like they would just be so dangerous if you look at, like, you know, media, so to speak. Sure. But like in our experience, there are moments. So what is a poltergeist? I think we need to get into that first. Right? It's essentially the easiest way to put it, right? Is a noisy ghost, right? Yeah. It's and it's not even a ghost at all. I mean, that's the way that the word breaks down is noisy spirit. But poltergeist never used to be somebody living, right? Right. There has never been, you know, Jack down the street doesn't turn into a poltergeist when he dies.
Yeah, that's not how it works.
No. I mean, it'd be kind of cool, because if I was going to be something, I would like to be a poltergeist, because then I could just like throw stuff and make noise and fart and do all this kind of things. But It's just not how it works.
Bummer.
Yeah, it is. But so our one and only interaction with a poltergeist was at Renaissance Church in Winburn. We made reference to it a couple times.
I don't think we realized it in person either. Like, I don't think that we knew that it was until we started putting some of the pieces together, because this is one of those times where, like, nobody was talking to us, right? And we were getting frustrated, and, like, there was nothing coming out of it. And then we started thinking about some of the things that we heard, even some of the stories that they told about it. With the footsteps and with the where they housed the Anne Rice dolls, and a lot of the things that we had heard there were that they didn't like the dolls. Now, I don't know if it was not liking the dolls, but they liked to break the dolls. We found that out firsthand.
I mean, were they creepy dolls? Because fair.
Some of them were, yeah.
Yeah, fair.
But they would break the hands off of them, and it was
odd.
I would say they were terrifying dolls.
There you go.
In the fact that they were hyper realistic.
Oh no, thank you.
So they were, and we will of course get into this in greater detail in the next few episodes. We're actually going to go into a cool set of episodes where we go into, our investigations in Winburn at the American Renaissance Church, as well as the Grand Midway Hotel. And we're actually going to have the owner of the Grand Midway Hotel on an episode with us, Blair, to talk about his experiences with those locations and, why he allows people to come in and do investigations. And it's going to be some phenomenal stuff. So if you're listening, keep listening to those episodes, because he's a great guy, a lot of fun to talk to. But those dolls were very terrifying because they were about 4 to 5 feet tall, most of them. And they looked like they were real children. And you're in this abandoned church and these dolls are just spread all over the place, and there's reports of a very aggressive spirit or an angry spirit there that used to be a former pastor. This video that Derek's showing right now, this shadow figure that walks in front of that mural. You can see it walking from left to right. It's very hard to see it, but it's there. And then at the very end, it walks back from right to left. So you have that in the back of your mind, right? You have this angry former priest that's very upset that his church has turned into what it is. But then you also see these giant dolls. And then you also have this potential poltergeist that's just making so much darn noise, and you don't know which ends up, right? I mean, that place was phenomenal. I wish we could go back, but unfortunately it is no longer a place we can investigate.
Yeah, he does not own it anymore. They kind of moved on after they had some issues with the township, I guess. So, but you're right. It was extremely interesting, especially because no one really went in there. At least not a lot of people. And they did have some interesting things happen. That's kind of what sucks, right? Is they started to build kind of stories to see what it was. But we got startled there. When we talk poltergeist activity, we talk noisy, we talk things being thrown. There's your doll. And so we actually heard these things being thrown and moved on us. That picture or that video of that priest walking back and forth didn't really tell the story of the poltergeist. What did, though, is... What was that? Is there somebody in here? So you could hear those knockings. Those were things physically being thrown at us. And I think it was just, we had never experienced that before. And it took us, it kind of caught us off guard.
Yeah, and so it was the throwing stuff at us, but then also we believe it was that same poltergeist that grabbed onto the doors of the church, like the entry
Shook them.
doors,
That's
and
right.
shook them violently as we were trying to go to sleep. And we ended up even texting Blair, the owner, and being like, "Yo, are you trying to get in? Do we need to
Right.
come let you in? Because we heard somebody, going crazy on the door downstairs." And he was concerned that it was somebody in the town because
Right.
Winburn isn't, there's some potential for there to be some riffraff, so to speak, going around. So, wanted to make sure that somebody wasn't trying to break in or something. That's, I think, where the unease set in on what that could potentially be, because like we weren't in control of anything at that point, right? It was just something
Right.
making a bunch of noise.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it was. But it was startling because we were not expecting that at all. I mean, you could hear in those clips, we were running the spirit box. We were trying to talk to somebody, and no one was stepping forward to talk. And that's when all those things started to happen.
Yeah, exactly. So, again, we're not super familiar with poltergeists, right? We do have experiences with them, but as
Not
far as,
experienced in them physically. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we don't. There isn't a. There's. I'm sure there's more to talk about with poltergeists. Maybe they're kind of simple, right? The theory is that they are just pent up energy, essentially like a ball of energy. Again, that was never living. It was never somebody's brother or sister that passed. But this energy just culminated in these things happening, right? It's pretty much all it is.
That's your high level. That's right.
Yeah. So again, these things are very different than residual hauntings and intelligent hauntings, right? Because those things used to be living. Those things were people. Those things were, going about their day, so to speak.
There was a reason they're back too.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So there's also theories that even the people that are involved in the space, like us as investigators or people in the house, that they almost project poltergeists, right? That their energy almost kind of like forms like a form of telekinesis almost.
I
That
think
they're
that
able to,
like you
like,
can
move
pull off, like
things.
it pulls and it builds. So the
Yeah.
whatever the energy, this ball of energy, when we're there, say we're at that church, it can pull from us and build up even more. So
Hmm.
it's taking and using our energy just in a different way than the intelligences do.
Which is frightening because we put
Yeah.
out the ghost buffets places. So like, can we make a poltergeist everywhere we go?
Maybe.
Maybe.
I mean, who's to say? That's exactly what those things do. Is they build energy and they throw it out there. And say we do that for a poltergeist, or are we adding to it?
Very possible. So for those that think we're extremely weird for talking about ghost smorgasbords, uh, we use EMF pumps during investigations to essentially provide spirits with the energy that they need to manifest, the energy that they need to interact with us. So then when we talk about the ghost buffet, those are EMF pumps. That's just our affectionate way to be calling them out. So maybe, right? Maybe we do interact with things that we ourselves create by setting up those kind of electromagnetic field burst bubbles, so to speak. I don't know. It's very possible.
Yeah, and it's an interesting thought.
Yeah. But I'm going to tell you, the next one that we're going to talk about is probably the one that bothers me the most, just because we have experienced these things more times than I'd like to admit, which is shadow figures.
Yeah.
I freaking hate shadow figures. They terrify me.
100%. They're awful.
So shadow figures, we had a picture on the intro, but shadow figures are exactly that. They are shadows that, in our experience, are just seen hanging out.
They're just there.
They're just there. And that is what terrifies me about these things. They don't want to talk to you. They know you're there. I honestly believe that shadow figures know we are there. but when something that wants nothing to do with us or just is annoyed that we are in their space and they are just standing back, and in our experience, it's almost like they're controlling the other spirits that are there, just flat out scares me.
It's like an added control factor. You know, they can tell the others what to do, what they're allowed to do. You know, and I do think that adds to, you know, their lore too, right? That they're controlling, they're the overseers, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
So
there's also a reason that we don't like them, right? Like we think that we see those and all the hair stands up on the back of our necks, kind of things.
Like they are you can feel
more threatening, you know, psychologically or spiritually than some of these other things are.
So do we think that like shadow figures are spirits? I don't know. I guess I never really thought about that.
I think that's a big question mark, right? I don't know. I mean, I feel like they are. At least there's a certain aspect of them that is, but to what extent? You know what I mean? Like how far does that actually go?
I feel like they're like some sort of hybrid, like in between, you know what I mean? Like they don't feel like they're totally within the spirit realm kind of thing. They kind of touch on something a little bit different. I don't know how to put my finger on that, but
that could very well be, because like you say, they don't interact with us. They're kind of just watching. Maybe they're, I don't know. Maybe they are something like that, where they're just like,
well, I mean,
don't know, just like a different vibe completely. I guess I don't know if it's hard to put your finger on it. You're exactly right.
So take for example, like the Watcher that we've talked about before.
Yeah.
Does that fall into that category? I would think so.
I suppose it would.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it opens that up though. You know, that if you consider that a Watcher, you know, the old Native American lore of what Watchers are, that then opens the door to what else could it be? You know, and is that just what they're talking about? Is that just part of their lore?
Well, and for me, the scariest part about shadow figures is that it bothers me when I can't see who I'm talking to. Like if I'm doing an interview for work, if I can't talk to somebody on Zoom and see their face, it bothers me, right? It's just weird to not have that face to the voice. Shadow figures are very, very much that for me, right? You can't see their face. You can't see their emotions, or you can't see anything. They're just a shadow.
It makes me think of like Slender Man. I mean, that's like what you pictured. It's just like faceless, creepy. It's just not right. And I mean, I think Aaron, you could probably speak more to it, but when we come into something like that, how does that feel? Like you were saying, it like raises the hair on the back of your neck.
Yeah, it does not feel good.
Is there a different,
even looking at all these pictures that you're putting up, like it does not feel comfortable at all. I feel like that's part of it too. Like whether for some of the ones that we have caught, or I've been in the area when if I've been in an investigation with you guys and we found something like these are ones that like you're looking over your shoulder because you know there's something there, but you can't quite put your finger on what it is. Like I feel like Dan, you and I, we can walk in and we can feel the energy pretty distinctly. We might be able to feel some of the emotions that are coming through, those kind of things for these things in particular. Like either you're feeling something negative in terms of negative energy, like either sadness or just irritation or whatever, or you're not being able to get a pulse on anything, right? Like you just know that there's something there. You know that there's something in that corner. You know that there's something that's watching you, but you can't put your finger on it. And I think that's the most unsettling. Like whenever I go into with these, you guys, my biggest tool, like we've talked about, is like just putting those energy feelers out there. And when those energy feelers go out, and they know there's something out there and they're just not pulling anything back, it's really unsettling.
Yeah, and for me, it's again, it's not being able to see their face, but I'm for some reason in the back of my head, like shadow figures seem to me like they're the ones that are gonna come back with you. You know what I mean? And that's very much like I want to call it like almost like the hazard of the trade, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is one of the things that we have to be very cautious of, and why we approach things the way that we do and try not to upset things. I'm very afraid of bringing something home to my family, right? And having them interact and like
Yep.
influence my house and my family and those that I love, you know, because I don't they didn't ask for this, right?
Mm-hmm.
For some reason when we're involved with shadow figures, we see them whenever we catch them in photos, like my hair stands up on the back of my neck with those, because of the fact that I'm afraid that those are the ones that are going to follow us. There's the shadow figures are the things you see in the corner of your eye when
Right.
you're like in your house or whatever. I don't know. Maybe I'm projecting that out into the world. Do you guys get that feeling with those? That's kind of where I'm at with those things.
I mean,
I
yeah,
don't
I
ever
could.
get, I don't ever get the feeling that they're gonna follow me. Any ones that I've ever had, I have had things attached to me before and come back with me. Not when I've been working with you guys, but before I came on with you guys, I've had experiences like that. There's always been a lot of negativity to that, but there was a person associated with those.
Okay. Yeah, that's different.
You know what I
but-
mean? Like there's very much like an entity that's associated that's just going to be excuse my language, it's just going to be a dick and be a jerk and follow me home.
Sure.
But I feel like with the shadow figures, like there's something that is like you were talking about, Derek, earlier, like they possess the power in order to be able to control some of the other things that are there. That's where like they have more of a sense of being able to control and power things over what your run-of-the-mill intelligent spirit can do. And I think that's where that is too, right? Like they're just like another level up, which makes them more threatening, right? Whether that's just in our mind or not. But I also feel like there's a sense with them of like a protectiveness of an area. Like they are attached to that area. That is their area that they're controlling. Those are their entities that are in there, and we're invading their space. Like a lot of times when we have had interactions with them, or we've noticed something that could be qualified as a shadow figure on our investigations, a lot of times like they are at some point driving us out of that area or shutting down communication in order to have us move on because they don't want us there anymore because that's their space. Those are their people. You know what I mean?
It's like when you're starting to get too much information.
Yeah.
They shut it down.
They just don't want anybody to talk to you anymore. And they have the power to do that. So they're just going to shut it down. Right. Like we've had that experience on a number of the investigations that I've been on, even where we've had something that controls things there and has decided that they don't want to talk to us anymore.
Well, then that's a fine line too, talking about, an intelligence that has that control.
Yeah.
Versus something that's the shadow figure that has the control. And then, not to dwell on shadow figures that much longer, but something like the creeper that we've heard of before that can crawl on walls and ceilings. Does that qualify as a shadow person? Like what would that be?
I haven't thought about those in a long time. We haven't been a place. Those are what do they call those things? Creepers or crawlers or something like that?
Yeah, I feel like every place has their own terminology for it.
Yeah.
Oh man, those things make like pins and needles climb up the back of my neck when I think of those. Like Hillview in Newcastle was the first and like the place we've investigated the most with a crawler. And I think Trans-Allegheny has one too, don't they?
They do.
Yeah, no, thank you. I like you guys, but like I will run faster than you guys to get away from a crawler. Like you guys will be crawler food over me. Like, no, thank you. So let's wrap this up because we're running
always
out
run.
of time.
We always
yet
run out of
again.
time.
It's unbelievable how fast we get through this stuff. So what's your thoughts here, guys? I mean, like when we start to talk about when we go into an investigation, how we frame things to prepare ourselves. How much do you guys think about what we're dealing with as far as, is it residual, is it intelligent, is it a poltergeist, is it shadow figures? Like, do you guys think about that at all before we go in, or you kind of like just dive in and see what comes out of it and then kind of take it from there?
I mean, I think the more that we do this, I mean, early on it might be a different story. You kind of take what is given as far as stories go and you just apply it. I think right now what we do is we go in so open-ended that thought doesn't even cross our mind. I think collectively I can speak for all of us where I say it doesn't cross our minds. It's we go into it with just an open mind as to what's going to come out of it. Now I probably could say that we lean towards intelligent, just the way that we build our investigations, because you get the most out of those, and everybody wants answers.
Well, absolutely, that's what we want, right? We're projecting what we want onto them,
and I think without really thinking about it, we're geared to the intelligence. So I don't think that we ever go into any of these things thinking that, yeah, we're going to get a poltergeist. Yeah, we're going to get something residual. It's just that I don't think that really crosses our mind. And we talk about it time and time again that we don't really get the full picture until we're in the review process, which sucks because you don't have it in the moment.
Right. And I agree. So the way that I enter an investigation, I also don't go in with this preconceived notion, but also I do, right? I do, in the fact that I project that I want it to be intelligent. I want something to talk to us. I want something to interact with our equipment that we paid a lot of money to have there. You know what I mean? It annoys the heck out of me when we go places where nothing does any of that, and then we drive back and we cry into our spilled milk, right? It's just like, I don't know. I want them all to be intelligent, but that just really isn't the case here.
Yeah, and you just don't know until you're in the middle of it.
Yeah, and it sucks. It really does.
But I feel like at the end of the day, we almost always get something out of these things, even if it's just a residual footstep here or there. I feel like most of these places, and maybe that's just us projecting it or really wanting something to happen. It might not be mind-blowing, or it might not tell the story that we want it to, but I feel like there's almost always something. I mean, everywhere has a story. Everybody has a story. Every location has its own story. And energy isn't destroyed. It doesn't move on. It transforms. So it's literally everywhere. I mean, I think somebody once said, like, so what, you just go in anywhere and everything that you guys do is haunted? Well, no, but we're open to it. I mean,
right.
Maybe.
Yeah. And also we're just not walking into a random building in the middle of nowhere and be like, we're going to do an investigation here. Right. We are going to places where people have reached out to us and said, hey, I'm having an experience. Can you come tell me if this is real or not? You know what I mean? Yeah, it makes sense that what we're finding, like, there is at least something somewhere, because there's a reason we have that particular place has been brought to our attention.
Sure. So I think every time we do a show, I always gather something out of it that I never really thought about. And one of the things that sticks with me, and like I'm going to take into our next investigations, is that idea of maybe they're all of these types of hauntings are tied together. The residual hauntings, the intelligent hauntings, the potential poltergeist hauntings, the shadow figures, all of these things, right? We didn't even start to talk about demonic possession and demonic haunting, so to speak.
That's probably a show in its own right.
It is, and it's also something that we don't involve ourselves with, because it's to be on brand here, it's a bridge too far for us, right? Like we don't
Nice.
want to interact with those things, so we bring in professionals, so to speak, for that, right? We've had people reach out to us with those demonic type hauntings or those demonic entities in their homes. We will not even approach those because we could actually do more damage than what we're walking into.
We'll actually reach out to other people, get other people on board to kind of help us out and almost pass it off because, like you said, we don't want to make it worse for people.
Right. It's reckless, right? It's reckless to do anything without knowing what you're doing. But especially when you're dealing with the spirit world, with the demonic world, like all of those kind of things, it's reckless to do these things. And that's why, I always caution people that want to get involved with this. It's like, if you want to do it, go with people that know what they're doing first.
Right.
Right. Like
they had some of that experience to help guide them. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Like other groups, like the first time you go swimming, you don't just jump in the pool, right? You have somebody that knows how to swim teach you how to swim, or else you will drown. So that's always like, because my wife's cousin, he likes to go to graveyards every year, and I am all for that if that's what he enjoys. But I hesitate to go, like, when I'll talk to him, be like, hey, like, it's fun, but just be aware, especially when you're doing cemeteries, you don't know, right? So it's just something you got to be safe with. All right, guys. I think we are officially out of time, as much as I hate to say it, because we could talk about all of this stuff so much. So thank you once again for joining us. Every journey across a bridge leaves something behind, a question, a feeling, or a moment that lingers longer than expected. But no matter how far into the unknown we wander, there comes a time we need to turn back. Thank you all for crossing the bridge with us again tonight, and for making the journey back to safely. Until next time, stay curious, stay grounded, and remember, you can always return from the other side of the bridge. Toodles, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.